Turn to 3.
Positive rotation. Ignition.
Welcome to Roll Call, a 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Brian Ellison. The Roll Call podcast focused on people, mission, and community. Coming up on the podcast, our guest tells us how her persistence moved her from LRS into the boom seat. It's going to snow next week. It looks like it's going to snow. Who knows how much, but in case of inclement weather, which he was my favorite pope, inclement, you can call the Scott Air Force Base information hotline, 618-256-7232, or check the Scott Air Force Base page or the 126th Air Refueling Wing page. Coming up, our guest talks about flying while pregnant. Also, this week's look around the Air Force. They are growing rubber. The Air Force is growing rubber. More on that coming up.
Hi, my name's Senior Airman Gregory Goder. I'm part of the 126 Comptroller flight, and I'm a financial manager here. My day-to-day job would be, I'm an accounting technician basically, so I'm in charge of all the squadron's purchases, and I make sure they hit the books correctly. What I like most about being in the 126 is I'm an AGR out here, so I work out here full-time. With that, I get a bunch of opportunities. Traveling is probably my favorite opportunity. I've been to a bunch of cool places like Washington State, which was the first time I've ever been there. I also play on the base softball team, so I get to travel with them quite a bit as well. I joined the Air National Guard because after college, I had a couple jobs I didn't really like, and I wanted to have an impactful career and make a difference on my community. I chose the 126 because I could pretty much stay around all my friends and family and still be part of the Air National Guard. I joined the Comptroller flight because my bachelor's in business management, and it kind of just fell hand in hand with working with finances. One huge benefit I've been taking advantage of is my full-time employment as an AGR. As an AGR, I get active duty pay, benefits, and everything that goes along with being active duty, but I get to stay home.
I'm joined in the studio, I'm not really sure why, by Master Sergeant Ashley Bradford. So you, why are you here? Because you just wanted to be here?
I do. I love podcasts. I love listening to them. I love talking about being a boom. So why the heck not?
Yeah, she's over here from the 108th Air Refueling Squadron. Yeah, she came to us. We were doing her portrait for Airman of the Year. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And she's like, I want to be on the podcast. And I'm like, when can you be here?
Hey, I'm all about the follow through. Show up.
I appreciate you coming in. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problems. So you're at the 108th Air Refueling Squadron. You're a boom.
Yes, I am.
And you seem to really enjoy being a boom.
Oh, you have no idea. There's nothing better than opening that window back there and seeing another plane.
Every time I see you on the plane or you're near the plane, you seem to be really enjoying.
It's the funnest job. There's a reason why everybody says it's the best enlisted job in the Air Force. So
it's second best. Public affairs.
Only second to public affairs, I'm guessing.
Yes. I mean, I would like to do, the ability to fly is pretty cool.
Hey, I've got some mad respect for you guys. Every time we go on a flight with PA or anything, I'm always hitting them up for pictures because if there's anything a boom operator loves, it's a good picture.
Yes, you guys, we have some great pictures.
Yeah, have you seen my Instagram lately?
No, I have not. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, we got to do a really cool incentive flight with the A-10 spouses down at Whiteman Air Force Base.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was like, I think I ended up getting a picture of an eight ship formation behind the tanker, but I think there ended up being 10 overall. So it was kind of a once in a lifetime photo. It was really awesome to be a part of.
That's cool. How was what was that trip? That was just last week. You went on that?
It was really just an out and back. So we left here, we went to Whiteman, we picked up their spouses, and then we went out to the MOA that's out there which is basically just like an airspace out there. And then it was us, and we were in formation with another 135 from here. And then basically all the fighters came up and their spouses got to be down in the boom pod while each individual was coming up and refueling with us. So it was a really cool opportunity.
That is so cool. And that was with the A-10s. They're in Missouri.
Yeah, they're at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri.
Yeah, I didn't know. We were both my boss and I were perplexed. Like, I didn't know there was A-10s out there.
Oh, yeah. We've actually done quite a bit of work with them. So it was awesome. I think they had reached out to us about doing this, and we were all about it. And it ended up being just an awesome, awesome day, a great opportunity. I took one of my students out with me, and then we had another boom operator with us as well. So we had an awesome crew, and it was a lot of fun.
How long have you been in the Air Force?
Oh, wow. So I joined in 2004. I went to Edwardsville High School.
Oh, okay.
And I was about a minute away from signing paperwork with the Army National Guard. But I had a friend whose dad worked for the Air Force. I believe he worked for the Guard here at the time. And there was a recruiter that used to work here that he was good friends with. And so he was like, I think you guys should talk to the Air National Guard. And I went and talked to them. They were awesome. And I was looking for a career field at the time that had a little bit shorter of a tech school.
Right.
And that's how I wound up in supply.
Oh, so you started out in supply.
Yeah, I was in logistics for the first almost 11 years of my career.
Wow. What made you want to change to become a boom?
It's probably going to sound super corny, but I just watched them go out and take off every single day. And I was like, that looks like a really cool job to do. And so in 2014, I might have even 2013, I started asking about being a boom. And at the time they were full up, weren't really hiring. And this is where I always tell people the power of perseverance will get you, because I feel like I stayed like a very annoying enough thorn in Chief Garros's side at the time that I would pop over every few months and be like, you hiring yet? And the answer was always no. Well, then around 2014, there was just, for whatever reason, through retirements and transfers, like everybody left all at the same time. And so I remember I was working one day at my desk, minding my business, and Chief Garros called me and he was like, congratulations, you still want to be a boom? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, go get your medical done. You're hired.
Wow, that is awesome. That is fantastic.
So I think he got tired of me asking, so you might as well give in.
So what was that process like, just going through boom school and becoming a boom?
So
you didn't have to do a board then?
No, not necessarily. But honestly, I think just because of the very nature that I had been kind of in their chili for about 2 years at that point, looking for a job. And I would come over and sit over and talk to Chief Garros. And I was friends with some of the booms at that time. So I think they had a good general feel for who I was. And I was really lucky that the leadership that I had in LRS at the time gave me a really good recommendation. So the process for me, I think, was a little bit more stressful. And I say that because I was a full-time technician when I was in LRS and had been since like 2006. So me going to ops was stressful because I had to give up a full-time job in order to do that. So there was like a ton of security that which if you know me, I'm not somebody that likes change very often. So to make a massive change like that and for it to, for me to give up a job and all that kind of stuff was a big deal. So I put a ton of pressure on myself in school that I had to make this work. But, if you drill down and do what you're supposed to do and study what you're supposed to do, they make it pretty easy to get through.
What did you do leading up to becoming a boom? What did you do to prepare yourself?
Probably freak out a few times from that time that I really remember. Honestly, they kind of tell you, I had gone over, one of the senior booms over there, John Reed, he'd actually taken me over. We have a Boust here, which is like a boom operator's simulator.
Oh, cool.
And so he took me over into the Boust a few times and kind of explained the general mechanics and all that kind of stuff. But really, there's just not a lot that can prepare you for actually just going to school and getting into it and doing it. And it's very overwhelming. It's a ton of information they throw at you all at once. And you're studying and you're 80 pages of information that you're taking a huge test on the very next day, which I'm sure a lot of tech schools are like. So the first, I think, month was at Lackland, and that's like your aircrew fundamentals, and then basic boom operator school, and then, or your basic boom operator course. And then from there, you move on to, you either go to SEER school, which that's a whole other thing, survival school, or you start at Altus, which is where they basically teach you the ins and outs of becoming a boom operator.
Wow. So you're a boom operator. How are you full-time now?
I am. Yeah. I actually, so when I came on board, I think I got back in 15. Yeah, I got back in 15 and fall of 15. So I was just a traditional at that point, but I mean, there's so many trips and so many opportunities to go on that you can really we call it guard bumming. You can really kind of make, if you want to, guard bumming a full-time investiture. And it was actually really nice. I stayed on the road a lot that first year, and you really hone your skill of what it actually means to be a boom, because you can do a lot of different things. I think some people think being a boom operator is just going up and I do air refueling and that's it. And to be honest, there's so much more that goes into it. And that was one thing I really wasn't prepared for. Right. You know, you're going to be at any given time, you could be doing missions where there's absolutely no air refueling, but you're handling cargo uploads and passenger uploads and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think I really knew that going into it. So being on the road that first year, I got to go to some really awesome places like Germany and Hawaii and Guam and see all these beautiful places, but then also really learn what it meant to be a boom operator and to be part of a crew too. That's really the biggest thing, is not only learning to be a boom operator, but learning how to be part of this crew mentality.
What does that, you say a crew, what does that entail? I mean, what did you learn about being in a crew? Because it does seem like, I mean, I guess I do hear, communications between the three of you at least, but yeah, what all goes into that? So
typically for the 135, you're going to have more often than not a 3-person crew. Now, if you're taking passengers or whatever, you may have an additional 4th person crew on there. But as a boom operator, it's learning how to express yourself and be taken seriously, but in that mentality that you're with 2 officers. So the idea is that when you walk onto the airplane, you 3 are all essentially equal. Now, you do have an aircraft commander that is ultimately in charge of the crew, but I think for me, coming from 10 years in the Air Force, and the rest of the Air Force is a little bit different than
right.
ops. I think everybody knows that. So it's just, I think, finding my own way of fitting into ops. And I'm so lucky we have awesome pilots over there that took me under their wing and kind of showed me what it is to be part of that.
You're full-time now here as a boom. What all do you do on the ground?
So I actually work in the training shop over there, so air crew training. Okay. So my job is to essentially make sure that everybody is current and qualified at any given time. I think the one thing that's kind of a misnomer sometimes is like, just because, especially as an air crew member, it's more of a full-time, part-time job. And by that, I mean, you're required to maintain your currencies and be current at any time, even if you are only coming out to fly once or twice a month. And so where that really funnels through is the support agencies within ops that make sure that everybody is current at all times. And then also forecasting, when people are going to be coming due for things and making sure they have opportunities to get that accomplished. What
are those types of things that you need to make sure your crew, the boomers, need to stay up on? From
like a boom operator's perspective, we're talking like cargo loads. So going out and actually practicing cargo loading on the aircraft out here. And that requires coordination between other agencies like LRS, who can bring us out a K loader and something for us to actually load, because you can't really do a cargo load without any cargo. But also we're required to do sims, so what we call our BOUS. And basically that's a great opportunity for us to get in and actually practice emergency procedures that maybe we wouldn't necessarily see in the aircraft. So if we do ever encounter them on the aircraft, we already have, we've seen it before, and it's like muscle memory how to work those emergencies.
We bounce around here a lot because I can't keep everything straight in my brain. So you just had a child.
I did. Yeah, she's a year old.
So congratulations.
Thank you
so
very
you had
much.
A child about a year ago.
Yes.
What is the challenge of being a boomer while pregnant? What is the I just saw some changes maybe coming to the whole pregnancy and air crew and
so I believe every command has a little bit different rules, just like different airframes have different rules. Obviously with a boom operator, you're lying on your belly. Yeah. So that can be a little bit challenging. I believe our regs, I'm allowed to fly until I was 6 months pregnant. Your 3rd trimester, I couldn't fly anymore. And I'll be honest, right about when I was starting to hit my 3rd trimester, the whole laying on the stomach thing, I was like, and my OB had said, look, you know your own limitations, you know your body. Your body will tell you when you're uncomfortable and to stop doing something. So if it hurts, don't do it. And so I feel like right up until I was about 5.5 months pregnant that I was like, okay, this isn't bad. And then all of a sudden I was like, yep, I'm done. So, but you know, I have awesome leadership over there, and they kind of like, I think volleyed the ball to me and were like, look, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you want to do, like we're thrilled. If you don't want to do it, no worries. Like you decide what's best for you.
What challenges did you have? Any challenges being pregnant?
Not being able to breathe. There's, you know, you're trying to move around and do stuff and bend over and like tie things down. And like all of a sudden there's like a bowling ball in front of you and you're like, I can't breathe the same. It wasn't until later in my pregnancy I found out I was suffering from something called hyperemesis. So not to be entirely graphic, but we'll just say I was sick.
Okay.
A lot.
Oh.
A lot more than usual probably. And so what was supposed to be just what I thought was like a little bit more severe morning sickness turns out a little bit something more serious than I thought. So next time, if I do end up having another child or, you know, if that becomes a thing, I probably won't fly throughout my pregnancy just because I'm at a greater risk for having that again. So
yeah, that can be no fun, especially if you're on a plane. You have to.
Yeah, no, air sickness is not a fun thing. Plus, too, like even as a boom, you know, even if I'm not flying, let's say if I do, you know, decide to have another child, even if I'm not flying for that given amount of time, there's still plenty to be done within the squadron, whether it be within the training shop, working with incoming pilots or incoming booms that will keep me more than busy.
How do you stay up on your proficiencies? Is that something that they just kind of put on pause?
While you're pregnant? Yeah. So I could do a little bit in the ballast. You can maintain some of your proficiencies in the ballast, but there's really, I mean, while it is an awesome tool that we have at our disposal, there's really nothing like actually being in the air and flying. And given the amount of time that I would have to probably end up being down, like I know this last time, you have to go through a check ride every so often. So that's when, you know, our standards and evaluations section will come in and actually just evaluate you flying and making sure you're all in compliance. During my pregnancy this last time, the time that I quit flying, I was actually able to accomplish my check ride right before the end. Otherwise, my check ride would have expired, which really is not that cosmic. It just means that when you come back up, you're going to have to go through a recrawl program and they're going to reevaluate you. It sounds way worse than it is.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm like, man.
It's not. It's really just, you know, you're flying with an instructor once or twice and they're just making sure you're all good. And then you do an eval and you're back up and on your own again.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So are check rides nerve-wracking?
Of course they are.
Oh, okay. I would imagine. You guys I mean, I've never been up on a check ride, but you guys seem so cool and calm when you guys are doing your business.
I tell myself too, I recently got promoted to evaluator. Mm-hmm. And I feel like even after being a boom for 8 or 9 years, you know, like they always tell you, if you're just doing your job, like it's no big deal. And that's the truth of it. You know, like they teach us about how to, you know, follow your checklist. And if you're just following your checklist, it's no big deal. But I feel like there's always just that thing that somebody's watching you, that there's just this added amount of pressure. But we all know each other really well and it's all professional over there. So.
Are you nervous when when you're doing like an orientation flight and people are watching?
No, you know, I don't know why I don't get nervous when people are watching. I think it's because I so enjoy doing the orientation and flights like that, because I genuinely love my job and I love talking about it to people and explaining what's going on to people. And people are always so grateful to, you know, like, hey, thanks for taking us up and doing this. And it's really a fun thing to be a part of. So I know I don't really get nervous when I'm doing those. It's like, it's only check rides for some reason.
Well, yeah. And they don't know what you're, you know, they don't know what you're, or we don't know what you're doing.
Well, here's the thing.
Laying down next to you.
They're all still videoing you. So that, you know, like you still, like, you know,
sure,
I mean, that's always there. But I think I just am usually really jazzed up about doing that. So
that's good.
Yeah.
What was the reaction to last week when you did that? For the A10?
So I actually wasn't. I was doing more the passenger handling side of things. So one of my coworkers, Nate Smart, he's awesome boom. He actually was down in the boom pod doing stuff. But it's hard too because, you know, you're trying to pay attention. Like your focus is outside on the airplane that's, you know, only like 20 something feet, 30
Sure,
feet away from
yeah.
you. But people are like asking you questions. And so it's really hard to hear down there too. But he was like, I know people are asking me questions, so I hope they didn't think I was ignoring them. But he's like, you can't hear anything. And but everybody, as far as like when I saw them, when they came back up from the boom pod, was just like overjoyed. And especially if they got to see their particular spouse actually refueling.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. We had like 4 different flights. And so when we were up there, I was like, okay, I'm just going to give an example. I think we had Rooster flight and we had a different flight. And so I was like, who belongs to who here? So I know who to get in the boom pod at the right time. And yeah, it ended up going over really, really well.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it was a really fun thing to be a part of. So I love doing that kind of stuff.
Man, it looks like an awesome job.
I don't think I could have imagined, even looking back, well, like I said, in 2015, where I was going to go with it or what was going to become of it. I mean, if I look back at when I joined the Guard, I could have never imagined what was going to become of my career.
Yeah, what were you thinking when you joined? I mean, not in a negative way, but what was your
what
goals?
Were you thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking?
So if I'm being 100% honest, when I look back, I had 2 main reasons for joining. One of which was I wanted to travel. More specifically, I wanted to go to France. Ironic, because the year I joined, they closed Istria, and we couldn't go to France anymore. But that's, whatever.
You got Geilenkirchen, right?
Yeah, and I did get to go there, which was awesome. But the second thing was that, I have 2 sisters, one that's a little bit more closer to my age, and she knew what she wanted to do in high school, like coming out of high school. She wanted to be a nurse. That was like her direction. And I feel like my senior year was kind of like, I have no idea what I want to do. Like, I'm going to have to pay for my college, but I don't really want to pay for college because I don't know what I want to do. And that's kind of how I started looking at, at the time, the Army Guard, but I started looking at ways to help pay for my college because that was really going to be on me at that point. And so, but it's funny because on my board, I think they kind of asked me a question like that, similar. And I'm like, well, the reasons why I joined are not the reasons why I've stayed, 3, maybe 4 enlistments later. Right. And that's because, now I have such a passion for, I do love being a part of this wing. It's awesome. It's been my home for 18 years now. But I feel like my friendships and the people that I know here are family to me and have been in some cases over a decade now. Wow. It's a long time to know people from here. And plus I love flying.
What were you going to do in the Army Guard?
Honestly, I have no idea.
You don't even remember now?
No. I'm sure I was going into something like infantry or something like that. Like, Lord only knows what they were going to have me do. Suffice it to say, I think for myself, probably chose the much better option for me.
So what made you want to join the Air National Guard, not maybe the Air Force?
I didn't want to leave home. Okay. Honestly enough, I wanted to so I was very blessed in the fact that I grew up with, a childhood, and I say sheltered, and that sounds bad, but was sheltered in a good way, if that makes sense. Yeah. My parents did the best that they could to keep us kids, and we all know in this day and age, that's a hard thing to do with technology and social media and all that kind of stuff. But I knew I wanted to travel, and so I think I was looking at how I could find a way to support myself with education and with travel, but have this tether that I came back home and kind of have this safety of still being at home. I don't think I was ready at that point to just go off and do my own thing and be completely gone. And, I'm super close to my family. They're my world, and I like being close to them.
What was it about the 126 that made you want to join?
Honestly, I remember my recruiter at the time. He was a guy by the name of PJ Gallagher. Mm-hmm. And I just remember really liking him. He was a super easy, friendly person to like. And I do remember PJ giving me vibes, whether it was true or not, which I'm pretty sure most of what he promised me happened, that the Air Force was, or at least the Air National Guard was going to take care of me. So, and here we are 18 years later, and boy, did they kind of deliver on that promise.
Did you know that the National Guard had full-time jobs?
No, I really didn't. To be honest, it's kind of crazy when I look back at how little I think I actually knew. And then you just sign the dotted line. And It's not till you have the benefit of age that you look back and you're like, I cannot believe you did that. But I actually ended up getting on with LRS as a technician fairly quickly. I mean, I enlisted in 2014. 2004, thank you.
No problem.
2004. And I was back by that fall, and it was probably a year and a half later that I was hired into like an entry-level position over there.
That is...
yeah, and loved it, made tons of friends, but when you get the flying bug, like, you can't ignore it.
This is true. It is neat to see the planes just take off all the time. Mm-hmm. When you're out here full time. And I understand that we'll probably see more flights, I guess, during drill weekends too.
Oh yeah, I think we're getting back to flying. Well, you know, especially with this past deployment rotation, you know, everybody was gone, so there really wasn't quite that level. And then the last year, gearing up for some of the bigger inspections that we had, we weren't doing as much flying on UTAs. But I think now we're going to be getting back to that because, you know, everybody's out here again, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. You get to fly with people too that sometimes you don't often get to fly with, because I don't know if you know this, but every time you go up, you fly with different people every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's 906, 108, you know, that's everybody. So I fly with active duty people fly with guard people. We're very integrated over there, which is awesome. But you fly with different people, but flying on drill weekend, you get to fly with people that you don't normally get to fly with a lot of times. So I love that. It's a good chance to catch up with everybody.
I think it'll be cool for people to see the planes take off,
yes,
and just to feel that vibe of we're in the Air Force. This is what's so cool about the Air Force, is being able to see these planes and planes take off.
Yeah, and sometimes it's shocking to me. Like I'll talk to people because I'm a chatter, obviously, but I'll go to different organizations sometimes, and they don't always know a ton about the mission that we do here.
Right.
And so, you know, I think that that's awesome that it gives people a chance to kind of see like what it is that, you know, we actually do here, what you get to support. But one thing I like to encourage people to do too is like talk to your supervisor about looking for incentive flight opportunities, because they're out there.
Yep.
It's just about talking to the right people to get that set up. And I love when we get to take people up from our own wing, right, and get to show them, you know, what it is that we do. So I think that's an awesome opportunity.
We're talking with Master Sergeant Ashley Bradford from the 108th Air Refueling Squadron. She's a boomer over there. You mentioned your pregnancy profile. Did that prevent you from flying after the pregnancy?
No, it was just like a non-deployable code that they put on, like a medical code that they put on you that keeps, I believe, them from reporting you as deployable until the end of that code. It's 12 months after you give birth.
So how soon after you gave birth could you fly?
So it pretty much as soon as I got back off my maternity leave.
Awesome.
Yeah, I had one flight just to get recurrent with an instructor, and then I was full back up again. So I think my maternity leave, well, my daughter... I ended up taking a few extra weeks because my daughter went in the NICU when she was born for a little bit. And so by the time we got out of the NICU and the dust kind of settled and all that, just for my own mental health, I ended up taking an extra 2 or 3 weeks. So it was a busy time for us. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty immediate that I came back and got back up. So
how bad did you miss it?
Oh, a lot. It's weird. You know, being a mom sometimes is like, never wanting to miss out on anything with your child, but then, you know, especially a working mom, wanting to be present and be part of this awesome career that I have. So in some ways, I feel like I just kind of had to shut down that side of my brain for a little bit and focus on being a mom. Like I said, she was in the NICU, and we had a lot of like health stuff going on in those first few months. So that was a little bit overwhelming. So coming back, it was nice to actually turn that side of my brain back on again and get back in the plane, because that's fun for me, you know? So that's where I have a good time.
Anything else you want to add? Anything?
Like I said, I've been part of this wing now for 18 years. I have a lot of friends here. It's been a really good career. It's weird to look back at the 18-year-old, 19-year-old version of myself that decided to join the military. And I feel like I had no idea, because it was really going to be a one-time enlistment for me. Like, I was going to get my schooling, I was going to figure out what I wanted to do with school, and I was going to get out and, you know, have my life. And then it just translated into so much more. I met my husband. He's a boom. Well, he just actually retired.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if retired. He got out. He's been in for 12 years, but he just got out in November. So he was a boom operator as well. So I met him, and yeah, the Guard has given me a lot of really, really good things.
Could you have dreamed of what you started in your 19-year-old self to what you are now?
No, I really couldn't. Because like I said, I look back and I almost am like that. That poor girl was so lost. She didn't know what the heck she was doing. But I think if you just keep your eye on the prize and you work hard, that's the thing too, is working hard. You know, you really can't get anywhere in life unless there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears behind the scenes going on. So, and people having faith in you that you can, you know, I've been very blessed in my career to have a lot of leaders that help lift me up and elevate me and help make me better. So,
did you go to college? Did you get a degree?
I don't have my degree yet, but I'm about to start school again.
What are you working on?
So when I actually was going to school, it was for history. And you know, I'll kind of tie this back too. So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life or where I wanted to go, the one thing that I always kind of had a huge passion for was teaching, and more specifically history. I love history. History and political science. Like you put algebra books in front of me and no, but I loved history. But, I had a friend at the time who had gone the teaching route and done all that kind of stuff and had the hardest time finding a job. The teaching market was so flooded, we're talking 18 years ago too. So I just didn't know if it was something that I could really make a go of. And I think that's why I threw all my eggs into the military. But it's been such a really cool thing for me to bring that full circle because I'm an instructor boom operator. And so I've gotten to take two passions of mine, one of which is a very old one of teaching, and really tie that into something that I love even more, which is flying. That's awesome. And that's really the best of both worlds for me.
So how much more schooling do you have?
I think I have probably a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. So we need to, especially after PME, buckle down and get her done.
I got to buckle down on PME.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there is some really good information, and it's funny because, I've done some other courses since then, and it does tie back in a lot of stuff, but at the same time, it's like, ugh, come on now.
Yeah, I know. It's rough.
Bottom line, get your PME done.
That's right.
And just be ready.
That's Master Sergeant Ashley Bradford from the 108th Air Refueling Squadron. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me today. Really appreciate it.
With your look around the Air Force, I'm Senior Airman Sayomi Sabornin. The B-21 Raider rolled out in a formal unveiling ceremony, giving the public a first look at the Air Force's new long-range strike bomber. It's a state-of-the-art aircraft that Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III says is the embodiment of America's determination to defend the Republic.
The B-21 Raider is the first strategic bomber in more than 3 decades. It is a testament to America's enduring advantages in ingenuity and innovation. And it's proof of the department's long-term commitment to building advanced capabilities that will fortify America's ability to deter aggression today and into the future.
The Raider is still several years from being operational, but it will eventually replace the B-1 Lancer and B-2 Spirit bombers currently in use. For the first time ever, 3 airmen got to fly the Lift Hexa, an electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. The flight was part of a 2-week familiarization program. The participants had prior experience with helicopters. The successful flight validated Hexa training for the uncrewed electric vehicle. The Lift Hexa is one instance where the Air Force is leveraging civilian partnerships for future military use. The Air Force Research Laboratory launched a multi-million-dollar, multi-year, multi-industry partnership to turn flowers into tires. The plan is to extract natural rubber from the crushed roots of a specific dandelion species as an alternative to relying on imported rubber from rubber trees. Industry experts say the demand for natural rubber is about 10 years away from exceeding supply, and the Air Force needs a secure supply chain of rubber, a critical material for the production of aircraft tires. The domestically sourced natural rubber supply chain is expected to increase in the next 5 years. And that's your look around the Air Force.
A reminder, connecting and engaging with your wingmen may reduce stressors that can lead to harmful thoughts and actions. And that may be a big problem. This time of year, people are stressed out, maybe alone. So just reach out to your airmen, your wingmen, and just say, hey, what's up, dude? Since July, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline can be reached by dialing 988. You can find all of our links on Linktree, linktr.ee/126.arw. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can also download this on your favorite podcast catcher. Thanks to our guest, Master Sergeant Ashley Bradford with the 108th Air Refueling Squadron. I appreciate her coming by. If you want to pass along some information because you might have some information, email rollcall 126.arw.pa.mm.org at us.af.mil. Thanks for listening to Roll Call, a 126 Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. I'm Master Sergeant Brian Ellison.
100, 50, 30, 20, 10.